Who doesn't love Jason Bourne? Especially action filmmakers in the late 2000s. It's a time for Jason Bourne films, and it's a time for films that want to be like Jason Bourne. There's no doubt that the Bourne franchise had a major role in shaping what a successful spy thriller should look like. And it's difficult not to draw the connection between Bourne and the 2007 Hitman film with Timothy Olyphant as Agent 47. Hitman as a franchise is just hitting its stride. The film released only 6 months after the critically acclaimed Hitman Blood Money. If this film is successful, Hitman could be a cultural juggernaut. Unfortunately, this film is kind of a mess. But a fun mess. It's the kind of film that I really love. It's the perfect type of bad movie. It's got a great core dynamic between Hitman and the female lead Nika, with some fun action scenes. But its plot, revolving around a conspiracy, gets a little too excited with itself, and misses fun action spy thriller alley and turns straight into indecipherable mess lane. Most importantly of which is a 4-way train sword fight sequence that is the wildest, most out-of-place thing I've seen in a long time. Previously, I had said that the most important thing to take for a video game film is its world. That way, you can tell your own story, with your own characters, without having to cram an entire game's plot into a 2-hour film. Hitman presents a different challenge, when the lead character is so inseparable from the IP that you can't make something without that character. There is a balancing act you have to play, where you want to keep the essence of what that character was in the games, while leaving room for tailoring the character to your film's story. There's been different approaches to this across video game adaptations. The Sonic films are a great example of doing it right. They took the essence of Sonic's character, but made him a much younger and vulnerable version that grows into the character that's closer to how he is in the games, while still retaining his exclusive traits from the film, like his insecurity and focus on familial relationships. There's the case of Mario, where he doesn't really have a character in the games, and you have to invent your own completely. Then there's the third option, like the Minecraft movie, where your character is Jack Black. Thinking of it, they also did that for Bowser. Those are all good characterizations, I think. And the films mostly invent a new backstory to fit that film's characterization. I don't have the clearest grasp on Agent 47 as a character throughout his many game appearances. In my mind, he's more of an aesthetic. He aura farms in a chicken costume. There's a level of satire associated with 47. He interacts with a hit, making every sentence he says into some vague illusion of murdering the guy before dropping a chandelier on his head. This characterization of 47 is much closer in line with the later reboot games. Early Hitman games certainly had some satirical elements, but it was much more muted. Those games focused on darker themes and showed 47's internal conflict of whether he's truly a human or just a weapon. In the second game, he's given up his life of violence and retired as a gardener, before being dragged back into his old life. He was treated much more seriously as a character, where those later reboots have a much more satirical approach to 47. Surprisingly, this film is much closer in tone to those later reboots than how Hitman was portrayed in any of the games that had been released at the time of making this film. I think that was a wise decision. They're going for a fun action spy romp, and incorporating those darker elements would have drastically shifted the tone of the film towards a dour, more contemplative story. The film opens with a dreamlike sequence where children with shaved heads are in some sort of training program. This is set to Ave Maria, while intercutting with the opening credits. And I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of this section is. It seems like they needed something to intercut with the opening credits, but movies of this era had already phased out those sequences. Maybe it's to put its own unique spin on the creation of hitmen. In the games, hitmen are born in vats, but maybe the 2007 audiences wouldn't have been as receptive to this sci-fi premise, and instead they've went with the indoctrinated orphans angle. They both achieve the same goal, that 47 was raised from birth to be a killer. It's easy enough for me to know what's going on given that I know about Hitman, but as you'll see throughout, this film has a chronic problem of not explaining itself, and I'm not confident that someone watching this for the first time will know what's going on. Especially because we flash forward to present time, where Agent 47 shows up at a Scottish Interpol agent's private domicile. After that, we flash back 3 months to a hit that 47 orchestrated in Africa, by feeding a wanted man C4 and making him go boom kapow when his target gets in range. Then Officer Mike, who's our Interpol agent, is interviewing a Nigerian police captain about the assassination and lets him know that they're tracking this killer who's already done over 100 hits. Then we move over to 47 already being in Russia, and I'm so fucking confused. In the first 9 minutes of this film, we've had 4 time skips, a ton of setup and exposition, all hastily bringing us to the main timeline of this film, with 47 in Russia preparing for his next contract. And I need this movie to slow down. Let's see if we can try and make sense of what's going on here. After the prologue, the scene with Mike and 47 is establishing their rivalry, as well as being a setup for the end of the film with the dead body in Mike's study. Here, 47 asks Mike, how does a good man decide when to kill? Which should be a setup for the theme of this film. Then we flash back to Africa, and 47 delivers some voiceover about his background as a trained killer, which should clarify the prologue of this film. Then there's the boom kapow situation, which demonstrates his lethality as an assassin. Then Mike, talking with the Nigerian police captain, sets up Mike's pursuit of 47 over the last 3 years, establishing their cat and mouse dynamic. This shows how many steps ahead 47 is over Mike, with him being linked to over 100 kills. This is just my interpretation, since what happened is an incomprehensible mess. But I think the filmmakers were going for the Jason Bourne globetrotting spy thriller, bringing us across a variety of locations and having a governmental organization hunting down our lead. But to achieve it, they've crammed this into the beginning of the film and didn't leave us with any time to understand what's happening. In the Bourne films, there's enough time to get acquainted with each location before moving to another, and each location has a purpose within the plot, even if the core intrigue of Bourne's past and his links to the agency that's hunting him down is shrouded in mystery. The viewer is never lost on a moment-to-moment basis. But now that we're through that, we can settle into one location for a bit and establish our main plot and core dynamics. First of which, and most relatable, is 47 being unable to talk to women. He gets a contract on the Russian President Belikov from his Discord kitten on his gaming laptop. He pulls out his intervention and quickscopes the target, but his Discord kitten says there's been a witness. However, that turns out to be a setup. The witness doesn't recognize 47, and another hitman tries to take 47 out. To add to the mystery, Belikov is somehow alive, and it turns out he was the client. 47 doesn't get any time to process this, as his position has been compromised with Mike and the Russian Special Forces leading a raid against him. If you stop paying attention and only woke up during this action scene, you might think you fell into a Killzone film. And I suppose these Death Squad suits are pretty fun. I quite like this action sequence, and it shows the clearest differences between the two versions of this film. You can choose rated or unrated, with the unrated version having more excessive violence. Take this elevator section of the action sequence. In the rated version, he pops in, we don't see anything, then the Interpol agents react to all the dead soldiers. In the unrated version, 47 absolutely cooks them. If this film was more coherent, I'd argue that the rated version is better, giving more suspense and mystery. Since, however, this film is incredibly confusing at the best of times, you may as well have the extra fun and violence so that you can enjoy things on a moment-to-moment basis. 47 escapes the hotel by diving feet first into the river. We next see him walk into a store soaking wet and barefoot just to walk out in a full suit and coat. I can't imagine he has any money on him at that point, but I hope it illustrates how much aura farming they have 47 do in this film. If not from this, then from the next sequence where 47 goes to interrogate a potential witness of the Belikov assassination, which leads into my absolute favorite dynamic in the whole film, between 47 and Nika. Explaining this won't do it any justice. I'm just gonna have to show you.
Get in.
Fuck you, I'm not getting in there! Ah, there's a dead man in there!
After this, they have a little chat, and we're explicitly told that Belikov has doubles. And to make things even more confusing, it was one of his doubles that ordered the hit. You don't find that out until much later, but it's time you grew up and learned about the real world. 47 relates to Nika because she was also set up and involuntarily had her head tattooed. So 47 and Nika go on a quest to find out who's behind this. They have to escape Russia, but all international flights have been grounded, bringing them to a busy train station. There's a kind of cool chase sequence with Interpol hunting 47 through the packed train station, until 47 goes down one flight of stairs and they ran out of budget for extras, I guess. He gets tailed by the worst hitman the agency could produce. 47 immediately incapacitates him, asks him a single question, then tells him to stay put before chasing a shadow into the wildest sequence of the whole film. Without any hyperbole, 47 goes to an empty train following that shadow. 3 hitmen appear out of nowhere, all with guns pointed at each other. They decide to put away the guns and pull out katanas they've seemingly had strapped to their back this entire time. They have a toast with their swords before 47 kills all of them in a very poorly executed fight scene. He comes back to the first hitman he shot, who obliged him by staying there the whole time, with the Interpol agents now catching up to him. So what's going on with this sequence? Well, I wasn't wrong to think that it's out of place, because this film was delayed by several months to accommodate some reshoots. One of those being this katana fight scene. Fox, the studio behind the film, didn't like the cut that was submitted by the director Xavier Gens. They decided to fire him and hire Nicholas de Toth to supervise the reshoots and edit together the new material. He allegedly did the same thing for Live Free or Die Hard, which is why the studio thought of him. Here's the funny thing. If we took out the katana fight sequence, I think the reshoots make this scene better. In the deleted scene, it's a one-way confrontation between 47 and the hitman before the Interpol agents show up. 47 nearly kills Mike, but Nika pulls the gun down, so he's shot in the chest rather than the head. Whereas in the version we got, 47 decides not to kill him at the request of Nika, which is better because he made the decision himself. But that katana fight really brings down this entire sequence. Well, only if I'm using my analytical brain. As a purveyor of bad movies, it makes it 20 times better. A large issue I have with this sequence is how the actors handle the weapons. They don't feel like they have any weight to them, and the swings don't have that much energy. This is one of the things I learned when making Midlands Mayhem. When doing the fight scenes, having smaller swings felt natural in person, however, it didn't come across that way on camera. I would get the actors to over-exaggerate their swings and movements, which felt a lot more fluid on camera. Same goes for the sound effects in this sequence. They felt weak and could have used more oomph. With our leads escaping, we get another scene of why I love the dynamic between 47 and Nika. 47 pops the trunk to reveal Nika's been there the entire time.
But Donok, I was running out of oxygen in there.
Don't be dramatic.
Dramatic?
I got rid of the body.
I've been there for hours.
I brought you breakfast.
But it's also when we get one of the most glaring tone shifts I've seen in a film, with Nika revealing her backstory. She was forced into prostitution and tortured for fun by Belikov and his men. This feels horribly out of place considering most scenes with the pair are comedic, and the drama can come from whether 47 is going to kill her. The duo meet with a CIA operative and are put on the trail of Belikov's brother, who's meeting with an arms dealer called Price, along with a spicy bit of blackmail that's supposed to be a setup for the end of the film. They head to Turkey and go out for dinner. While Nika is none the wiser, 47 kills all of Price's guards, but sedates him for some reason. Maybe there is a shortage of arms dealers. Anyway, now 47 can pose as Price at the meeting, but not before Nika makes a move on 47. He rejects her because she's drunk, and when she continues trying, he puts her to sleep. Apart from the tragic implications when you think about it, the dynamic between Nika and 47 is the highlight of the film. They've got great contrasting personalities, and some genuinely funny banter between one another. If this film was executed a little better, it could have even been a sweet story about 47 putting away his cold exterior and finally making a friend. I appreciate that they didn't go for the relationship aspect. Not that it would have worked well with all we know about 47 as a character. But setting them up as genuine friends and keeping the dynamic alive for a potential sequel would be the smart move. 47 infiltrates the party/gun deal and meets Belikov's brother, who's had one too many visits to the Colombian room. He's told near instantly that 47 is an imposter, but for some reason, he ignores it. The brother starts threatening the woman to his side, and that's when 47 decides to say it's hitmanning time. And then hitmans all over these people. Belikov's brother begs for his life, while offering to do whatever 47 wants, but he quickly realizes that those two are at odds. 47 guns him down because he wants to use the funeral proceedings for a shot at Belikov. We then have our tearful goodbye between Nika and 47, and we're off to the final sequence. I can't sugarcoat it. This ending is a complete mess. Not that the film hasn't been a complete mess up until this point, but it wasn't trying to tie up a bunch of poorly explained plot threads that required knowledge they never gave you. There's been an entire side plot between the Interpol agents and the head of the Russian FBI. Most of those scenes aren't really relevant, since most of it is just them catching up with 47. But now we have to address it, since we have the arduous task of explaining what the fuck is happening. There's another hitman set up at the funeral for Belikov's brother. 47 kidnaps the Russian FBI head and gets him to order that hitman shoot Belikov instead. He's behind bulletproof glass though, so the hit fails, leading Belikov and his soldiers to seek safety in one of the nearby church towers. 47 has already disguised himself as one of those soldiers, giving him the upper hand to capture Belikov and gun down his guards. 47 is jumped by the other hitman, who he dispatches along with Belikov shortly after. He then gets arrested by Interpol, and as they're carting him away, the CIA stop the transport, giving 47 enough time to escape. The CIA stopping his arrest was apparently the deal they had made in the diner previously. The flashback has ended, and we cut back to Mike's house. 47 is still pointing a gun at him, with a body lying in the room. 47 wants Mike to leave him alone and stop pursuing him. In return, he offers Mike the dead body as a substitute for 47 himself. The film ends with 47 tracking Nika and making sure she's safe from any other hitmen. I hope all these plot elements come across linearly and make sense, because watching the film, it's totally incomprehensible. Fortunately, I had a friend who's schizo enough to have seen this movie like 6 times and break down the plot for me. Regardless, this confusion means the film lacks a satisfying ending or any coherent theme they wanted to explore. There's no real payoff to the setup from the beginning of the film about when does a good man kill. Mike says if someone's trying to hurt him or his family, otherwise it's a crapshoot. I'm really struggling to think how this is tied into, well, anything. Is it that 47 is justified because they were trying to kill him and Nika? I suppose this film would have to have more coherent scenes to have any sort of payoff by the end. At least some of the action was fun. On a budget of $24 million, it grossed just under $100 million, with an additional $29 million coming from home video sales. That's a massive success financially. However, critics were negative across the board. The most reoccurring issue was the incoherent plot. But interestingly enough, critics also took issue with the acting, which is surprising to me. I think performances around the board were good. Not Oscar-worthy, but Timothy Oliphant and Olga Kurylenko, the girl who played Nika, did a great job. While the critical reception to this film is mostly negative, the audience is a bit more favorable. A seemingly persistent theme for video game movies, being that critics are usually more negative towards the film than the audience. I don't blame the critics. I think most of their complaints are more than valid. But there is also something to be enjoyed that many of the audience picked up on. I kinda like this movie, but I'm also a purveyor of watching bad films with my friends, and this is the perfect film for that. There's some genuinely fun action sequences, a solid soundtrack, and some hilarious back and forth between Nika and 47. It's a shame that it's completely indecipherable, but that's like a little spicy pepper thrown in as a fun treat. If I've one thing to say about it, it's that it's never boring. And that's the hallmark of a perfect film to get together with the lads, have a couple beers, and talk shit while it's on. There could have been a very solid spy film if it was executed better, but it at least has some enjoyable elements. I can't say that it's good, but if you're like me, you'll enjoy some of it.